Ladies and gentlemen of the Vortex, hello, it's your boy Alexander, and I've been getting a lot of wonderful messages, a lot of wonderful feedback, a lot of wonderful comments and everything like that, and I just got inspired to make this quick video because I've been getting a lot of questions about, so I've started the check writing game and I'm having a lot of fun with it, but how do I actually get dollars in the bank? Well, just by doing the check writing game like by itself, you're going to get dollars in the bank. But there's one additional process that I totally forgot about, which really helped me. That it was one that I invented for myself, but I'm sure that it'll be helpful for everybody else, because what it does is it really helps clear up our negative associations to credit cards, to bank accounts, to debit cards, to any card or any association with finances, money, banking, anything with that in our minds. And I'll go into a little bit of more depth about that, but let me just channel my guides, my higher self and everything like that. Okay, let's have some fun. So, I had talked about in previous videos how there's something called the check writing game. Some people call it the prosperity game, some people call it the abundance game. It doesn't really matter what it is, it just involves writing checks to yourself and making money. But there is a game that I invented for myself called the credit card game. And basically what the credit card game is all about is I don't actually have a wallet. I just carry all my credit cards just kind of like that and whatnot. And, as you can see, I kind of have like all these different credit cards and all these different things. And what I started doing at first was I realized that, even though I would be doing the check writing game in the morning, whenever I would go out like grocery shopping and I'd pay for something, I would be like, ooh, there would be like this little contraction where it's like, I have to buy like $70 worth of groceries at Whole Foods. It's like, it makes me feel a certain way. It makes you feel contracted towards money. I know that it certainly did for me. But what I started doing was every morning, for the credit card game, and it doesn't have to be a credit card, it could be a debit card, it could be any card that's in your pocket. What I did was I started, just like looking at it and, kind of like holding it in my hand for like a couple seconds, and I would start feeling positive emotions towards that credit card or towards that debit card or towards whatever card it was. And what I started to realize as I was doing it is that for some reason whatsoever, I had a negative feeling towards my credit cards and towards my debit cards, because I had this feeling of like, oh, there's not enough. I was like, even though I'm doing the check writing game, and like, writing my checks out in the morning, and I have like all this financial abundance and vibrational escrow, I was like, in reality, I only have this much money in my bank account, or I only have this much credit available on my credit card or something like that. And what I started to realize was, hey, regardless of how much money I actually have in the bank, how much credit I actually have or anything like that, I can actually, for me, it was just because I used my credit cards and my debit cards all the time. I don't even carry cash. I still don't even carry cash. But I started to realize like, hey, just by focusing on one credit card, I'll just take this for example. I have a Chase credit card because I use Chase quite a bit. And, I have it and whatnot. So what I would do is I would just kind of hold it, in my hand, close my eyes for a little bit, and I would be like, I wonder what it would be like to be super rich and have Chase as my bank. And so, I imagined this specific bank account that this card is tied to. And I was like, there are thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars in this bank account. And I started having, those feelings of like, oh, there's money in this actual bank account. On top of that, I started imagining, oh, what would the bankers be like if they knew that I have like $10 million in the bank? Would they treat me a little bit differently? And for Chase, if you guys don't know, they have something called like private client services, where it's like if you have over 250,000 in their specific bank, you can like be a private member and you get like all these special benefits and whatnot. So I started imagining stuff like that. I was like, so, I'd pull out my Chase card. I'd be like, so this is what it's like. This is what it's like to, have all this money. Chase loves me. All the banks love me. Actually, I have that belief now. It's like all the banks love me. They just do, just because I have so much money. And, that's the belief that I had starting off. I was like, yeah, all the banks love me because I have so much money, regardless of how much money I actually had. But it came true just by like, putting it in my mind. But what I did was, I even grabbed more and more credit cards or any debit cards, and I just started changing the way, not just about that specific account, because it's not so much about like, well, it is important to see money in the bank, but what's even more important is feeling or letting go of that feeling of restriction, or letting go of that feeling of resistance anytime that you have to spend $1 or $10 or $100 with your credit card or with your debit card. Just because I know that most transactions that most people do are done with their credit card or with their debit card. And so whenever you're checking out in line for groceries, that you're buying your food for the week, so it's going to cost like $100, $200, sometimes $300 or $400 or $500, depending on how big your family is. You have like that feeling and it could be just super, super, super small, where it's just I had to spend $100 on groceries, and what happens is that feeling. Because abundance isn't so much about, it's partly about receiving money, but it's also about giving money. And what I started to realize with the little credit card game is that if I could kind of like change my association about my credit cards and my debit cards in particular, what I did was, anytime that I started spending money, I would actually see myself kind of giving this person a job. Like, if I would go to Whole Foods and I'd buy like $100 worth of groceries, I would see and feel like total gratitude and appreciation for the money that I was giving to these people. Because, a lot of people, it's very easy to feel money about, money that you're receiving. It's very easy to feel appreciation about that. But money that you're giving out, no, that's a little bit different. And most people's minds are not trained to feel like appreciation for giving out money. If you have $100, if you only have $100 in the bank and you have to pay a bill for $50, there's probably, unless if you've trained yourself to think a little bit differently, there's probably going to be some contraction or some type of resistance towards actually giving that money out. If it's your last like $50 or $100, there's going to be some restriction. But what happens is whenever you can get to the point where you are like totally appreciative and like totally gracious and just feeling gratitude and love towards giving money out, then what's going to happen is like magically money is going to start appearing in your life. And that's how the real dollars in the bank start coming out, or, they start pouring into your life. And, the whole credit card game and the whole debit card game is it's just like, changing your associations about your credit cards and debit cards and everything. So you can do this in the morning. What I did was I did it in the morning. I would just be like, oh, I have unlimited credit. I was like, oh, on this card, I was like, I have unlimited credit lines. All the banks love me. They just want to give me unlimited credit. That's so awesome. And, on this card, I was like, oh, actually, I love this little card, just because it's Ben Franklin. I was like, I have the maximum amount of money that I can have on this little prepaid card. It's so beautiful. And, all these different cards that I have and whatnot. I just saw myself either not just seeing like tons of money in the bank, or seeing like unlimited credit lines or no preset spending limit. Love those words. Not only did I just see that, but I actually felt it. I felt it in those cards. And what happened was, whenever I was in line checking out or buying something, I would, at first there was like a natural kind of like constriction or a natural retraction, or just like feeling of like resistance towards spending money. But eventually what I started to do, I was just like, I started to realize, I was like, I have unlimited credit from the universe. I have unlimited abundance from the universe. And, by swiping my credit card at Whole Foods or Giant Eagle or wherever it is that I'm at, I was like, I'm not only giving this person a job, but I'm, supplying money to thousands of other people, hundreds of other people. Even if even if my purchase for $100 only gives that person like a penny, all the money is going to, a penny to this person, a penny to that person, a penny to these other 1,000 people. It's really awesome, because I started to see how there's like an infinite amount of abundance. And even though I'm giving $100 to, let's say Whole Foods, for example, I'm putting so many people to work. I'm putting so much money back into the economy. I'm putting so much money just like everywhere. And the cool thing about it is that, this is where it's really cool. The more money you spend, the more money you kind of get back. But only when your spending is in alignment. That's the thing. People are like, oh, well, shit, if I only have $100 and that's my last $100, then fuck, let's go buy 100 lottery tickets. Well, yeah, if you're inspired to spend that, or if you're spending that in alignment, then go on ahead, if you feel that's right for yourself. But I'm sure that, if somebody's like, oh, Alexander says, if, I should spend my last $1,000 and I'm going to get more than $1,000 back, then that person is going to like message me, be like, hey, I tried your process and it didn't work and now I'm broke. What do I do now? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, stuff with like the little credit card, like the debit card game, and even the check writing game, they help you get to the point where all your spending is in alignment. And what I mean by alignment is, some people spend, people spend money on whatever they spend. Some people spend it on clothes. Some people spend it on whatever. And something that started happening in my life was that once I started getting into vibrational alignment with money, it didn't matter what I bought. Like, okay, one of the coolest things was I bought this little iPod Touch or iPod Nano thing, whatever it is, for like $300. And I was like, fuck. I was like, I really, really want this. And I feel like there's something inside me that's telling me to buy this iPod Touch. But it's $350. And even though I have the money, how am I going to get it back? It's like, I don't see how I'm going to get it back. But the universe was just like, just trust me, just trust yourself, Alexander. And because of the fact that I was in like financial or spending alignment with myself, I bought that iPod. And then all of a sudden, get this, like 2 hours later, I went to my doctor's office, for something real quick. And he was like, oh, hey, by the way, I forgot to tell you, here's, since you're moving out of town, I have to refund all your money that you've had accruing in your balance. I was like, oh, well, that's nice. I didn't know that doctors do that. And I was like, yeah. So, he gave me the check and whatnot, and I didn't even look at the check. But I remember that my iPod came out to be like $362.69. And I got home later that day, and I just opened up like the letter from my doctor, and he said like a nice little thank you note, and he was like, here's some extra money because we didn't get to finish all the sessions. And the cool thing was, okay, my iPod was like $362 or $363. This dude gave me a check for, I shit you not, like $364. And I was like, whoa. This is like the coolest thing ever. Because the thing is, I bought this little iPod with, on total financial alignment, total financial, just like abundance, trusting that the universe is going to cover my expense no matter what it was. And once you can get to that point, whether it's through the check writing game, the debit card game, credit card game, whatever games, whatever vortex meditations you want to do, whatever it is, once you get to the point where you're spending any purchase is in financial alignment with yourself, it doesn't matter what you buy because you're going to get that money back. Sometimes it'll happen like instantly. Sometimes it'll happen like the same day, same week, same month, same year. But the more in alignment that you get, the more your spending is going to be in alignment, and the more you spend, the more you're going to get back. So it's like, I want to say that probably, dude, I don't even know. I think I probably spent like somewhere between $1,000 to $4,000 in the past couple of days, just because I'm making like certain business purchases and whatnot. But the cool thing is, I know, like, this week it's already I'm going to make at least, $1,000 to $4,000 back, like however much, just like that, just because I know. It's like something that is bona fide, like totally bona fide, 100% in my experience, because I know that by spending things, it's going to make me money. So, it's contradictory to what everybody else tells you, like, oh no, you need to save your money, save 10%, be frugal, be blah, blah, blah. And, the cool thing is I'm actually kind of a frugal person, kind of, but not really. Like, whenever I see something that I want to buy, I buy it. But that doesn't happen often because unless if I'm like called within myself to buy it, then I don't buy it. But whenever I am called to buy it, no matter how much it is, whether it's 1,000, I remember there was something that I had to make for like, I had to make a purchase sometime last month for like maybe it was like $6,000 or $7,000, and I was like, damn, because it was not a purchase that I was planning on making, but because of the fact that it was in total alignment with myself and with finances, I ended up making like, I'll just say like a lot more than 6,000. But it was just like that. So anyways, I hope that everything's all good with everybody. Pull out your credit cards and your debit cards and just start feeling good about them. Feel good about spending money. Feel good about sharing your abundance with other people. Because really, you are a grantor of abundance. Anytime that you buy a product, anytime you go shopping, anytime you buy something online, you are sharing your abundance with others, which in turn makes the universe share it back with you and increases the dollars in your bank. So you end up having more money. So I hope you really like this video. By the way, I completely cut and shaved my hair. So if you've seen me on different videos, you'll be like, oh my God, who is this guy? Who is this? Well, I say I'm extremely awesome and good looking, but if you like my hair, say how much you like my hair, or my lack of hair. If you like the video, tell me something you like, tell me other questions that you would like to know about, any different topics that you want to know about. If you like it, subscribe, comment. I don't really care, whatever you feel inspired to do. But yeah, it's like, I hope that if you're watching this, hopefully you derive some benefit from me talking about abundance and finances in general. But yeah, credit card game, debit card game, check writing game, abundance game, prosperity game, whatever games you want to call it, do them and you will make money. So Alexander is out.